Well, hello everyone. I'm Lisa Anich, and I'm very pleased to welcome you to Digital Earth Week 2020, which is a set of 8 webinars by Contra Costa Resource Conservation District staff members. So thanks so much for joining me for my presentation, which is called Something to Celebrate, Earth Day Turns 50. Chris Lim, our Executive Director, is assisting me today with this presentation. And I hope that most of you have had a chance to use the Zoom app before. If not, welcome to Zoom. I think if you check out the controls at the bottom of the screen, you should see icons for both the chat and the questions and answers. And Chris and I will be watching for your comments and questions. I'm going to monitor the question and answer box mostly. So please do go ahead and type questions or comments about the presentation in the Q&A box, and I'll do my best to answer those verbally while I'm giving the presentation. Chris is going to monitor the chat box, and that's the best place to ask questions or give comments that aren't directly related to the talk, such as our other Digital Earth Week talks, or if you want to know about our website or emails or anything like that. So any questions before we get started? Not seeing any, so I'm going to go ahead. Oop. So I'm going to have to ask Chris to switch me back to host here. Thank you. And I'm going to share a PowerPoint presentation here. Okay, so once again, I'm Lisa Anich. I'm a watershed conservation manager for the Contra Costa Resource Conservation District, or CCRCD. And here's a little summary of what we have planned for today. First, I'm going to introduce the CCRCD by sharing a little bit of history about the organization. Then I'm going to give a short history of Earth Day and also ask you if you will share some of your memories of Earth Days past or your plans for Earth Day this year. And then in the second half of this presentation, I'm going to demonstrate a few simple crafts, well, really 2 simple crafts, and tell you about a Earth Week craft kit that you could assemble at home. As I mentioned, we're recording this webinar and we'll make it available later so that if you want to see the demonstrations of the crafts, you can always tune in again another time and just watch the parts that are about the craft that you're interested in making. So a little about the RCD. Chris and I are 2 of the 7 staff members of the CCRCD. We also have 5 unpaid directors who are appointed by the county supervisors and 3 associate directors. The CCRCD is a non-regulatory special district, and we serve the same area as Contra Costa County, but we're not part of county government. We work very closely with a non-regulatory federal agency called the Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS, and we share our office in Concord with the NRCS. So our history starts in a very difficult time for our country, the Dust Bowl era. It was about 85 years ago, or it was 85 years ago, in April 1935, that the federal government created the Soil Conservation Service within the U.S. Department of Agriculture to help farmers and ranchers protect their livelihoods by protecting soil and water. That Soil and Conservation Service still exists, but as a different name. It's now called the Natural Resources Conservation Service, or NRCS. Well, when we look at pictures of California or Contra Costa agriculture in the Dust Bowl era, they look idyllic compared to what was going on in the Oklahoma and areas like that. Here's a picture of a walnut orchard in Concord that was photographed in April 1940. Yet even in 1940, Contra Costa was facing environmental challenges. Here's another photo, this one from 1941, that shows some very severe channel erosion. You'll see the bank collapse there is encroaching on an orchard. And this photo isn't to document the location, but most likely it's Walnut Creek, the stream there. And I would guess this channel degradation is about 50 feet deep. This channel is really deeply incised, because you can get an idea of the scale by the man who's standing there at the base of the channel by the red arrow. And he's standing next to a willow post revetment that the Soil Conservation Service built to capture sediment and help protect the bank. So this was the kind of problem that Soil Conservation Service was responding to. But more importantly, they were trying to proactively prevent problems by offering technical assistance and financial incentives for farmers and ranchers to conserve soil and water. And the NRCS and the RCD still do that today. So across the US, local conservation districts were sprang up to work with the Soil Conservation Service, and our local district was formed in 1941. Here's a picture of the board of directors at their first meeting, which was held in December 41 in the clubhouse of the Civilian Conservation Corps in San Ramon. And here is our current board of directors. We are proud to have a very diverse and talented board helping to guide us in our work. We still have a working lands program working with agricultural producers. And we also have a watershed program that supports community groups by organizing watershed councils, cleanups, and other activities such as that. So if you want to learn more about our watershed program and watersheds, I encourage you to join Chris Lim's Digital Earth Week presentation, which will be on Wednesday afternoon. So now let's go ahead. Oops, any questions? I don't see any questions, so I'm going to keep going. So now let's move ahead to 1970 and talk about the history of Earth Day. The impetus of Earth Day was an oil spill in Santa Barbara in 1969. A new oil well, during drilling, it blew out and it caused a really massive spill. And people were outraged and angry, and many stepped up to do what they could to clean up the beaches, did whatever they could, and even more people were demanding government action. I think this cartoon here fits well the mood of the time. It says, Need for Offshore Oil Drilling Regulations, and the title is in black and white. So in this era, increasingly, Americans were agreeing that we needed more industry regulation. This is a chart showing the number of new environmental, public health, and occupational safety laws that were passed in each decade for the century from 1916 to 2016. And the 70s certainly stand out as a decade of new regulation. Many histories of Earth Day really emphasize its role in the passage of new environmental legislation and the strength of bipartisan support. So we had the Environmental Protection Agency, established in 1970 and signed into law by Richard Nixon. And we had the Endangered Species Preservation Act of 1973, passed in the House of Representatives with 390 votes in favor and only 12 opposed. Another thing I think is interesting about Earth Day is that it was really came from a lot of grassroots events that coalesced together. The Earth Day on April 22nd, 1970 was originally called the Environmental Teach-In. It was an idea, or it was mostly led by Senator Gaylord Nelson of Wisconsin, who hired Dennis Hayes, a 25-year-old activist, to be the event's national coordinator. And afterwards, Hayes said, quote, "We had neither the time nor resources to organize 20 million demonstrators and the thousands of schools and local communities that participated. The remarkable thing about Earth Day was that it organized itself." I also want to mention another Earth Day event that was actually slightly earlier. Didn't come to be the day we celebrate Earth Day, but it's sort of a local interest especially. That was Vernal Equinox Earth Day that was organized by John McConnell, and it sort of caught people's interest here in the Bay Area. So it was Mayor of San Francisco, Joseph Alioto, who proclaimed that first Earth Day, March 21st, 1970, to be celebrated with a flag featuring our, as it says, beautiful blue planet as viewed by space, from space. So on that first April 22nd Earth Day, or environmental teach-in, they say estimated 20 million Americans took part, and all over the country. Here's a picture of the Earth Day event in New York City. And here's a picture of a march in St. Louis, Missouri, where kids were wearing face masks to protest air pollution. So at the encouragement of my coworkers, I'm going to tell my own story of my memories of the first Earth Day. And I also want to end my little history section here with a question to you. If you're old enough to remember 1970, where were you on that first Earth Day? And if you're not old enough to remember 1970, where would you like to be on Earth Day 2020? So if you want to share an answer to those questions with the other participants, please type in something on the Zoom question and answers, and I'll read it to the webinar attendees. So meanwhile, what you see on this page is my diary entry from 1970 when I was 10 years old. And the high school students in my hometown had presented skits about environmental issues at my elementary school. And my diary says, "Today is E-Day. I saw a program on it in school, down with pollution." So, and the picture below is me on 6 years later, Earth Day 1976. And that's the year I joined that high school environmental club so that I could give presentations at schools. So I don't see anything in my questions and answers. I was hoping someone might share an Earth Day memory with me. Anyway, so here are Earth Day history links here. Some of the history, this is where I got it. And I'm happy to send this to you if you're interested. So let's see. Okay. So that is the first part of my presentation about history. And let's see. So the next part of my presentation is going to be about crafts. Let me get that PowerPoint started. Let's see, close that one. Okay, so Earth Day decorations. I developed some Earth Day craft kit, and one of the reasons we did this is we're making a craft kit that we distributed to a local community group for kids who are home from school and families who are looking for more things to do. So this is a craft kit that you could also assemble if there's someone in your family or a neighbor that might like to have some more craft activities to do. They're all simple crafts, not too hard to get the supplies. And if you're interested, I can be happy to send you the instructions and patterns if you just email me at lanich@ccrcd.org. www.crcd.org. So today I'm going to explain just really briefly how to do all of the crafts. Two of them that are really easy to make. I'm going to show you how to do them online here as part of the webinar. So this first one, softball and a soft bat. And the idea of this is it's a ball and a bat that you could probably use inside. It wouldn't break anything. So it's light enough. I'm going to demonstrate here. My husband's going to demonstrate how to do it. And it's great for an empty corner of a room, but of course ask permission. And all you need for this is some newspaper, a couple of pages from a magazine, a lightweight soda bottle or water bottle, and scissors and tape, and optional paper and crayons if you want to decorate it. So I'm going to switch over to my craft studio now. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. Where'd my Zoom go? Let's switch my video feed here. Okay. Let's see. So, newspaper. The inside of the softball is just newspaper. So first I'm going to crumple this up into a softball sized ball of paper. Okay, that's my softball. Then I'm going to take my magazine sheet. I'm going to be making 8 strips out of this. So I'm going to fold it in half, fold it in half again. Cut those into 4. And then I'll fold them again, each of them again, and cut again so that I end up with 8 strips. So got my 8 strips of paper, and I'll get my tape. And I'm simply going to tape them end to end to make a long ribbon like this. So you get the idea. It's pretty simple. And when I am done, I will have one very long ribbon of magazine paper. So I'm using the magazine paper because it's stronger than the newspaper. And also the reason I use white is both because it looks like a softball, and also because if it hits the wall, it won't get ink on the wall. It's better for indoor sports. Okay, so now I'm just going to take this on the outside, and this is the part that's a little bit difficult for, it might be a little difficult for a child, and it's sometimes easier with 2 people, but I'm simply going to wrap it, put my tape over there. Wrap it and then fold it 90 degrees angle, wrap it again. Tape it down, do a sort of a 45-degree angle. Tape it again. And I will keep going with that until it's all completely wrapped up. I can, to make it a little stronger, put tape on the side. And you'd be surprised, this is actually pretty sturdy. You can play with it for a long time before it falls apart. And best of all, when you're done with it, you can simply toss it in the recycle bin because it's completely recyclable. Same thing with the bat, which is just a water bottle, and we've decorated it. And if you take off the lid, because the lid isn't recyclable, then your bat is also completely recyclable. Okay, so that's that craft. Go back to my PowerPoint. My place here, so go ahead. Okay. So the next craft I want to show you, actually, I think I'm running out of time here, so I'm not going to show you all of this one. I think I'll just go through quickly go through all the other crafts that we have here in the craft kit. And if you're interested in getting this, let me know and I will send you the PDF. So the second one is a poster, a Litterbug poster. This one's made with chipboard. So all the things you need with this is empty chipboard boxes, crayons, pen, scissors, and glue stick. And you can either print out the posters that I have here, or this is also possible, you can do this without a printer at all and just draw it freehand. I'm sure you can probably figure that out, how to make patterns from whatever sections of your picture you want to have covered with craftboard. You just cut those shapes out. And chipboard is not recyclable, but it's great for crafts. Very colorful. You can find magazines and advertising in your junk mail that's got interesting graphical elements. So it's great for crafts, but it's not recyclable. So it's good use of that. And while we're talking about recycling, I encourage you to tune in for Elisa Robinson and Patty Pell's Digital Earth Week presentation, which is on Thursday. Learn about recycling and composting. So actually, just a second. I'm going to go back to my other video feed. Okay, so now it's okay. Now I'm seeing a comment from Elisa about where she would like to be on Earth Day. And she said she'd like to be in Upper Sand Creek Basin in Antioch on Earth Day, with a bunch of enthusiastic volunteers with surrounding, from the surrounding area, planting native plants and removing trash. So thank you, Elisa. I think that sounds wonderful. And I hope we'll all be doing that again soon. So, okay, I'm going to go back to my crafts. I'm sorry about that. So that's what we need for that one. This is the one that I'm skipping, so I'm sorry about that. Next craft in the craft kit is Nature Bingo. And play Nature Bingo, just go out for a walk, take your bingo sheet with you. Whenever you find something that's on the sheet, make an X and find 5 things in a row, across, down, or diagonally, and you've got a bingo. And for this kit, you need to print out 2 sheets for the bingo sheets. You need some crayons, scissors, glue stick, and a pencil. And you just cut out these shapes, cut out the pictures, paste them on wherever you want them to be. And if you don't like some of the items on here, you can replace this with your own pictures. For instance, when I did it, I took out the spider because I don't want to look for spiders, and I replaced it with a duck. Next craft we have is the planet sun catcher. This is one requires some things that you might not have around, such as the clear plastic transparency. Nobody really has any of those anymore because you don't use overhead projectors. But if you do have some old ones around, they're great for crafts, and it's a good way to use them up. Also needs blue and green tissue paper, which I happen to have around, construction paper, scissors, glue stick, and tape. And for this one, you just put the transparency over the pattern of the sun catcher and tape it together so it won't move around. Then cut out the blue and green tissue paper into small pieces about the size of a glue stick and glue them on. So first you cover up the continents, and then you add in the blue tissue paper for the oceans. Doesn't have to be perfect at all. It'll still look good. And then you take that pattern away from the transparency and you put it on top of the black construction paper. Don't cut out the transparency, but you do cut out the construction paper, cut around the circle, and that makes a frame for the sun catcher. Just glue it in place and tape it to a window. And finally, the last craft I have here is a pop-up poster. It's called that because it's sort of three-dimensional. And this one, again, you definitely would need to print out the patterns. It takes the 3 patterns, paper plate. Paper plate gives the depth to the map. Magazine pictures, star stickers, crayons, scissors, and glue stick. So just staple the plate onto the black paper, color in the map with waves or sea creatures or whatever you like, and cut that out. And then you make the continents by cutting out the patterns, and you don't have to cut them out in detail at first. Just cut out the basic shapes. Don't worry about the bays and coasts, and glue that on to some magazine paper back to back. And then once it's glued together, you can cut out the shape, and that's when you get the details. And then you also make the labels, cut those out, color them, cut them out, and then roll the ends so that the labels are, roll it around a crayon to make it curly. Then to assemble it, you just add the map, the labels, the star stickers, and you're done. So that is it for my Earth Day crafts. I'm going to stop that sharing. Thank you so much for joining us. Are there any other questions we have from any of our attendees, either on the chat or the Q&A? I'm not seeing any of them. So thank you all for joining us. I hope you'll tune in for our other digital Earth Day presentations every day this week. Also want to remind you that we have a virtual botany hike at Fernandez Ranch scheduled for May 6th, which will be very informative and an exciting chance to see what's in bloom at Fernandez Ranch. So with that, that's all for me. I don't know if Chris would like to say anything, but thank you so much for joining us.
No, but I think I'm okay. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This is Chris Lim. I'm the executive director with Contra Costa RCD. But yeah, thank you so much for the presentation, Lisa. Does anybody have any other final Q&A?
Yeah.
I really like the presentation. I think we actually asked this question of Harold, who will be, his interview will be broadcast on Friday afternoon. But one of the questions that we asked Harold is because he was at the first one, you know, maybe we open this up for you too, is, you know, 50 years ago, Earth Day started. When you first attended and you were thinking about, you know, Earth Day in the future, are we where we should be, or are we further behind than what you had originally imagined, or are we further along? How are we doing? That was for you, Lisa.
Oh, sorry, I'm focused on the Zoom. So if we can, anyway, are we where we should be? I think we can't give up. It's just always, I think we really need to know the power of the individual, and each of us can make a difference, and we can't just wait for someone else to solve it. So,
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, I think that's everything. We all have more power than we think we do, and many different viewpoints and many different gifts, and we need everything. So,
Nice. I like that.
thank you. So thank you all. And I'm also seeing that Igor wrote that on his first Earth Day, cleaned the creek and walked to the John Muir house to celebrate his birthday, which is great to live in Martinez and be near the John Muir house. And so it's a great way to celebrate Earth Day. Is there anything else from anyone? Well, thank you so much, everyone. It was, you know, first time I've ever done this, so thanks for being patient with me. But looking forward to seeing everyone in person again. It won't be too long. And thanks for joining us.